Greetings gamers, FiOth here, and in this honest AF review I will be talking about Payday 3. No spoilers whatsoever in here, as we always do things here in AF reviews. I'll just try to give the game a fair shake, talking about its pros and cons, taking into consideration its overall functionality, fun factor, and the controversy surrounding its release date. So Payday 3 is the sequel to Payday 2, the fan favorite bank heist game that released a few years prior. It has amassed a cult following. I understand there is a certain allure to games like this. Games where you can just boot them up with friends and try to complete missions or heists in whatever manner you deem appropriate. There are certain things that have to be discussed though. First and foremost, the game looks like hot garbage, and I have to be totally honest with you on that regard, because we tried pretty much every available option, from performance to high fidelity with specific sharpening toggles and so on and so forth, and it kept looking like poo-poo. The version tested here was the PS5 version, but when you look at graphics like these in the year 2023, considering what we got in the previous generation of machines, let's say Red Dead Redemption 2 or the Phantom Pain, this is pretty unacceptable. The sound design is pretty excellent though, and everything from the gun sounds to the voice acting seems to be appropriate and on point. The very nature of the game is one in which you go into a mission, you try to complete it either stealthily or guns blazing, and then you go back to base, which is pretty much a menu, and purchase weapons, upgrades or cosmetics. Of course there are microtransactions in here, but they are not too forceful. You can get certain things with in-game currency and other things with coins that you get from using real-time money. That's up to the player preference. My issue here is the same issue I had when I tried Back 4 Blood and people kept comparing it to Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. It is 2023, the year of our Lord, and games like this are getting pretty stale. Yes, it is fun with friends. Yes, it's kind of make your own fine game, but there is only so much mileage you can get out of doing what Payday 3 has you do. I'm gonna break down the mission structure in broad terms. You start the mission posing as a civilian. You're not wearing your mask, you're just outside the bank or the place you want to rob, and you're formulating a plan. There are a few ways of approaching. You can pick a lock, or you can go straight through the main door and open another section of the map where you can go stealthily, avoiding detection because it might be a private or secure area, and then when push comes to shove, when the shit hits the fan, you wear your mask and you start taking people down in melee, shooting stuff, deactivating or hacking. There is a point of no return in each mission, whereas you wear your mask and then all bets are off. So it's interesting that the game allows you to do certain things before you're presented as the assailant, saying you can be more nuanced or more quiet, or avoid hurting anyone, to be honest. But the fact remains that the creatures controlled here, the people, the robbers, don't have any qualms about wreaking havoc, not only against their opposition, which is the cops in this case, but also against bystanders and innocent civilians, something I found to be very cynical. If someone's shooting at you, shooting back is pretty much fine, but if someone's just passing by, let's say it's not my cup of tea to unload an assault rifle in their face. There are certain mechanics here that allow you to be more discreet. You can take people down in hand-to-hand combat, saying you go from behind them, disarm them, and then you can trick the rest of the security guards by using the radios, broadcasting a no OK signal, and stuff like that. If it happens more than a few times, then there is no defense against raising an alarm, in which state the plan completely shifts, going from a stealthy approach and maybe a hacking on forcing someone to give you a code, to a guns blazing, explode this vault kind of scenario. And then it's total chaos. In these situations, you're also allowed to approach the whole case in a way that's everyone for himself, so you can betray your colleagues, quote unquote, and try to get all the loot for yourself. You can keep trying to get more loot or just extract as soon as possible when you meet your quota. It gives you a lot of different options when it comes to how you can complete these missions. I'd like to mention the controls here. I played using a controller, and you can also use a controller on PC. What's being done here is that the mapping is pretty adequate. Everything is available at the click of a button or a small combination of buttons, but the aiming feels off. The aiming when playing a shooter on controllers in this day and age comprises of a few factors like very aggressive acceleration or total lack of aim assist or bullet magnetism and so on and so forth. The controls here feel totally stiff. Yes, you can move the reticle around, but there is no millisecond pause when you cross something that's supposed to be a target, so everything feels like the reticle is floating around the environment. It cannot prioritize what the target is and what the target is not, and overall the experience seems very, very stiff. They should have paid some more attention to this, since when action takes front stage in this game, it becomes pretty frantic. Not being able to aim where you wanna aim and have the results you wanna go for can get annoying pretty fast. There is a reason why Halo Combat Evolved became such a loved game, whilst other shooters of the era are now unplayable in this day and age, and you can see why if you play 5 minutes of Payday 3. Once you're done with the mission, you're back at base. As I said, it's a bodiless construct where you go through menus, have a bit of dialogue for exposition, watch some very low quality, very low budget quote-unquote cutscenes where you go through slides without any actual animation, and you purchase guns and upgrade guns and gears and take on different accessories. That is pretty much it. It's a repetition of doing this and that without much context and trying to do it on high difficulty settings. And you're gonna say that, well, you have been playing a lot of horde shooters in this channel, why is this inferior? And that's a very good point. But the thing is, when I play a game that's all about repetition like this, there has to be a background to keep me interesting. There has to be some sort of lore or some sort of world building. It's totally different playing this than playing a game in the Warhammer universe, for example, because here you're just a culprit nobody who wants to rob a bank or pick someone's purse. It doesn't feel like an impactful action, it's just going through the motions in a scenario that really doesn't allow for any kind of redemption. And if you're so hell-bent of playing the asshole, I suppose this is fine, but for me it doesn't hold much allure. I could detract from the negativity of all this and give points for creative design or interesting aesthetics or high-tech productions. But everything that works in this game is the bare minimum, and what doesn't is really a shell for you to put in the hours to make your own fun with friends. And for a person like me, this is not a selling point. It might be for you though. When it comes to the final nail in the, let's say, coffin, the netcode of this game is horrendous, not in the moment-to-moment gameplay, but when it comes to you actually being able to play with the people you want to play with. There is matchmaking, but there will be often disconnects, and the problems have been persisting to a degree where Starbreeze considered creating an offline option in case you wanted to play solo if you cannot connect to the network, and that says a lot about their faith in the product in its current state. If you watch this by the time that everything will be patched, more power to you, and I suppose you will have a better experience than I did. But the very first time I invited someone in my lobby, they disconnected 5 seconds later. Doesn't work as intended at this point, and I sure hope it gets to work as intended, because I know some people will try to play this and they're gonna experience a pretty miserable state of the game. This is it, guys. That's all from me. I hope this was informative. It comes straight from the heart. No one's paying me, of course. If this is your thing, let me know where I didn't get it in the comment section below. If this deterred you from buying the game, let me know your thoughts and let's have a productive discussion. Until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always travel perfection. Cheers!